I owe all this money to HMRC, will they let me close my company down? Well, the answer is yes. HMRC will only potentially get involved usually in the type of closure. They will not stop you closing the company down. And what I mean by that is there are essentially two dominant ways of closing down a company, where your major creditor, for example, is HMRC, and the company ceased trading and has no longer any future, and you effectively want to close it down and dispose of all the compliance and the obligations that a director has of running the company. And in those instances, what you may find is that the strike-off procedure will be objected to by HMRC, because HMRC will want an independent person, a liquidator, somebody such as myself, to essentially oversee the closure process. And the way in which we do that is through what's commonly known as voluntary liquidation. If the company is insolvent, which is what we're really talking about here, we would be talking about creditors' voluntary liquidation, CVL. And in that instance, HMRC will very, very, very rarely, indeed, if ever, interfere with a creditor's voluntary liquidation process and insist that a company goes into compulsory liquidation. They will insist that it goes into compulsory liquidation through the courts if they've already initiated the court process and they're too far down that process to essentially put a stop to it. Sometimes they will simply say, no, we're not getting involved any further, we're just going to go to the court hearing. But in most instances, what you will find is that even if the court process has been initiated for a petition for the winding up of the company, the HMRC will potentially pull back and let the company go into creditors' voluntary liquidation, and they will not insist on going to the court hearing. If there is no court process, which hopefully will be the case, then as soon as HMRC get notification of the company going into creditors' voluntary liquidation, they will typically take a step back, and they will then essentially address any matters and issues that they've got with the liquidator. Where there is a strike-off, they may object, and that may be a problem. But ultimately, HMRC will not prevent a company from being closed down. Any suggestion otherwise is a total fallacy. It's a misconception that some people may come up with, but it's simply because of the objection to the strike-off procedure. But they do not stop companies being closed down ultimately. Questions, queries, concerns, give us a shout. We know insolvency inside out.